Welcome to the Secrets of the Bible channel. They are defined as the eternal and most cruel enemy of the Israelites. These are the Amalekites. The story of the Amalekites begins with an unbelievable timing along with the Israelites. After all, Esau, Jacob's brother, is Amalek's grandfather, and perhaps this is also the reason that during biblical history they were there fighting the Israelites and the kingdoms of Israel. One of the dramatic stories accompanied by chilling visual descriptions takes place during the time of King David, the story that seems to become present. After all history repeats itself, however, it was written 1,000 years ago, in Samuel 1 chapter 30. Today we will explore a nation that fights a brutal war against the Israelites, whom God commanded to destroy. And more than that, we will explore the verses that predict today's war. Let's begin. Amalek was declared the eternal enemy of the people of Israel from generation to generation, and the people of Israel were commanded to exterminate them until their final disappearance. God commands Amalek's destruction 3 times in the Bible. The first time when Amalek appears is in Exodus chapter 17, where the war between Amalek and Israel is mentioned. The second time when Amalek appears is in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 25. Israel is warned to remember the same act and to kill Amalek when the time comes. The third time when Amalek appears and the command to destroy them is mentioned several hundred years later, in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 15, where the prophet notes God's commandment and commands Saul to settle the score with Amalek. Amalek, who was a familiar people, heard my sons in Israel at a particularly sensitive time on their way out of Egypt, when he was tired and weary. This is an unforgivable act, and therefore God commands that the act be remembered and destroyed. The story of Amalek begins already in Genesis, as the son of Eliphaz his concubine and the grandson of Esau. His descendants were among the nomads of the desert and wandered there to the south and east of the land of Israel. From there they emerged, mounted on camels, into the settlement territory for plundering raids. This during Exodus, the Amalekites lived in the Sinai and Negev deserts and were the first to fight Israel. But the Israelites struck Amalek with a powerful blow. The war of the Amalekites against the Israelites began as a defiance of the Israelites' faith in God, and also against the miracles he performed to bring them out of Egypt. As a result of their actions and defiance, the Amalekites convinced the nations of Canaan to fight the Israelites out of jealousy and not fear, as Rahab describes it to the spies in her house. When we heard of it, our hearts melted in fear and everyone's courage failed because of you. For the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on the earth below. Joshua 2 verse 11. As a result of Amalek's defiance, other nations followed his example, such as Edom, who opposed Israel, and Sion. Before entering the promised land, God spoke these words to the Israelites. Remember what the Amalekites did to you along the way when you came out of Egypt. Deuteronomy 25 verse 17. Therefore, God orders the destruction of the seed of Amalek. When the Lord your God gives you rest from all the enemies around you in the land he is giving you to possess as an inheritance, you shall blot out the name of Amalek from Amalek Su, Hava. Do not forget. Deuteronomy 25 verse 19. This is why God commanded the Israelites 3 things when they entered the land. They should create a king for them, they should build the temple, and they should destroy the memory of Amalek during the period of the Judges. The conflicts between the people of Israel and the Amalekites continued. When Saul built his kingdom, he was commanded by God through the prophet Samuel to go to war and destroy Amalek. This is what the Lord Almighty says: I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up from Egypt. 1 Samuel 15 verse 2. However, Saul spared Agag, the king of the Amalekites, and the best of the cattle and sheep, which cost him his kingdom since it was against God's will. After that, another war with Amalek is described, but strangely it sounds like today's war. The story in which it is said that the Amalekites raided Ziklag, the city where David stayed in the land of the Philistines. They burned houses and captured women and children. When David and his men returned to the city of Ziklag, tragically, they find the city burned and empty from everything they left behind. During their absence, the Amalekites raided the city and captured the women, children, and property. David and his men reached Ziklag on the 3rd day. Now the Amalekites had raided the Negev and Ziklag. They had attacked Ziklag and burned it, too, and had taken captive the women and everyone else in it, both young and old. They killed none of them but carried them off as they went on their way. When David and his men reached Ziklag, they found it destroyed by fire and their wives and sons and daughters taken captive. 1 Samuel 30 verses 1 to 3. After that, David and his men reacted harshly. So David and his men wept aloud until they had no strength left to weep. 1 Samuel 30 verse 4. He doesn't give up. despite the difficult situation. David requests Abiathar to give him a vest and asks God whether to fight. God asks David if he will succeed in fighting. The answer he got surprised him. And David inquired of the Lord, "Shall I pursue this raiding party? Will I overtake them? Pursue them?" He answered, "You will certainly overtake them and succeed in the rescue." 1 Samuel 30 verse 8. The men in David's army pursue the Amalekites, but some are faster than others. David and the 600 men with him came to the Besor Valley, where some stayed behind. 200 of them were too exhausted to cross the valley, but David and the other 400 continued the pursuit. 1 Samuel 30 verses 9 to 10. 200 people do not keep up and have to wait for the rest of the fighters in Besor Valley. With the help of an Egyptian boy who was cruelly abandoned by his Amalekites master, David's men find the Amalekite soldiers. They surprise them right in the middle of the victory feast, strike them hard, and release everyone who was taken captive, and return to themselves what was taken from them. David replied, "No, my brothers, you must not do that with what the Lord has given us. He has protected us and delivered into our hands the raiding party that came against us." 1 Samuel 30 verse 23. But David teaches his men an important lesson, even though some of them did not actively participate in the war. They too deserve it. The share of the man who stayed with the supplies is to be the same as that of him who went down to the battle. All will share alike. 1 Samuel 30 verse 24. As the chapter ends, David distributes the loot to his regiment and the elders of Judah with a message. "Here is a gift for you from the plunder of the Lord's enemies." 1 Samuel 30 verse 26. The last mention of Amalekites as a people group in the Bible is during King Hezekiah's reign, and 500 of these Shiites led by Pia, Neriah, Raphia, and Ul, the sons of Ishi, invaded the hill country of Sur. They killed the remaining Amalekites who had escaped, and they have lived there to this day. 1 Chronicles 4 verses 42 to 43. We hope you learned something new today. If you did, give this video a like and share it with your friends. You can share with us what you know by leaving a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more informative and entertaining content. Thank you so much and see you next time.